Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vajdam Prabhuji. Dandat Pranam.
Yes, Prabhu.
Is it audible to all of you?
Yes, Prabhuji, it is audible.
Okay.
Yes.
Prabhu, our hero says Vajdam Prabhu, he came in touch with Krishna Consciousness in Warangal while pursuing his MTech, and then he joined time in the year 2008. And then since then, he has been rendering various services. He used to visit VIT college near our temple from 2010-11 to 3 years. Before that, he was visiting NIT Warangal from the college where he has passed out. And then from 2014-15 onwards, he was rendering services in DT department at Kunjibihari. And then over a period of time, he also went to Bhaktivedanta to Vada. So he's completed his Bhakti Vaibhava from there, and he's also pursuing his Bhaktivedanta. And Prabhuji is presently now traveling to Vijayawada. There he's doing his preaching in 2-3 hours there, and he spends 15 days at Vijayawada and 15 days at NVCC temple. And he is a Bhakti Vaibhava teacher for Kunjibihari. He is a primary teacher for Kunjibihari Brahmacharis. So I've requested him for taking this 5th unit for the congregation Bhaktivedanta batch of 2023. So he's kindly agreed. So we'll try to welcome him by once chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
And once Prabhuji starts, you'll be understanding many of his glories. So let's welcome His Grace Vajdam Prabhu for our batch. Thank you, Prabhuji, so much for taking out your time. I'm in Pandharpur with the congregation group, so I'm going for darshan, so I'll not be able to continue with this session. Please carry on. Okay, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
All of us also to Radha see Pandranath. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Hare Krishna. Okay, so not wait much. We'll directly go into the chapters, 12th chapter. So the chapter is titled as Birth of Emperor Parikshit. So, yeah, so Bhagavatam is a journey. So it's a beautiful journey as you go to the Bhagavatam. So many lessons we can learn, and we can actually apply in our life so that we can purify our heart and become close to God, right? And in every chapter and in every section, Bhagavatam teaches a very important lesson. It's like a doctor giving medicine, so which cures our disease. Similarly, Bhagavatam gives that medicine for the Bhavarog. So by the end of this 9 cantos, especially Prabhupada says that the first 9 cantos, if one carefully studies, so by the time they enter into the 10th canto, they are ready to actually experience the pastimes of Lord Krishna, which are not ordinary, which may appear very simple, but we can truly relish them when we actually go through the first 9 cantos in a very systematic way, which you are all eager to learn. So now we are currently in the 12th chapter. So this is actually the Bhagavatam, the prelude, right? So how the first 3 chapters of the first canto, they are like introduction part, setting about Bhakti, Bhagavan, and the process. And now the next again 4, 5, 6 chapters are Narada, Vyasadeva Samvad, how Narada was feeling despondent. So even after writing so many Vedic literatures, he was not satisfied. So when he inquired Narada Muni, so then he told that we have to directly glorify the Lord. They have done so much work. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Of course, that is also service, because there were so many living entities who want that. But the essence of all that, the essence of for which the creation is made. So if that purpose is not given, then what is the use of all other things? So the main thing, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the direct glories of the Lord has to be narrated. So then Vyasadeva writes the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's an introduction to how the Srimad Bhagavatam came. And then the 7th chapter, so to explain the incident, then Ashwatthama, the story is told how the Bhagavatam is coming into picture, how this Bhagavatam came into existence, how all those things. So then, to explain that, so there is a detour, right? So from 7th chapter, 8th chapter, the 9th chapter, 10th chapter, 11th chapter, 4 chapters like a detour. So explaining about the prayers of Kunti Mahani, Bhishma's prayers, and then Lord entering into Dwarka, leaving Hastinapur. And then now again they're coming back to the original topic. So how the Parikshit Maharaj took birth and all those things. Okay, so now we will go to the first verse. Yeah. Shri Shaunaka Vacha Ashwattham Ashwattham Brahma Shishno Tejasa Uttaraya Hato Garbha Ishena Jivitatuna. So this verse is spoken by Shaunaka Rishi to Suta Goswami. So as you all know, the Bhagavatam, the conversation, there are loops. First, Sukadeva Goswami is telling to Parikshit Maharaj, the bank of Ganges assembled by various sages. And which is, that episode is spoken by Suta Goswami again to the Shaunaka Rishis later. Right? So there is a loop, there is another loop. Like that, you find so many loops. So if you are not attentive or carefully what is going on, who are conversing, then we will get lost in these things. So now Swami Prabhuji is addressing Suta Goswami because they ask actually Suta Goswami that how this Bhagavatam came into existence, those questions. So then for narrating that, Suta Goswami starts and then he goes detour. Like that. So let us come back.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam.
Yes, please.
Your voice is coming a little lesser, maybe a little far away it is coming from. So
Yes,
I was just, wondering if some adjustment can be made.
Sure. Okay, I think when it got disconnected, the speaker got changed.
Yes, now clear.
Now clear? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So can somebody read the translation, please?
Yes, from 16, I think we can read number 16.
The womb of Uttara. The sage Shaunaka said the womb of Uttara, mother of Maharaj Parikshit, was spoiled by the dreadful and invincible Brahmastra weapon released by Ashwatthama. But Maharaj Parikshit was saved by the Supreme Lord.
Yeah. You read the purport also. Read the whole purport.
The sages assembled in the forest of Naimisharanya inquired from Suta Goswami about the birth of Maharaj Parikshit. But in the course of the narration, other topics like the release of the Brahmastra by the son of Drona, his punishment by Arjuna, Queen Kunti Devi's prayers, the Pandavas' visit to the place where Bhishmadev was lying, his prayers and his arrival at Dwarka and residing with the 16,000 queens, etc., were also narrated. The sages were absorbed in hearing such descriptions, but now they wanted to turn to the original topic, and thus the inquiry was made by Shaunaka Rishi. So the subject of the release of the Brahmastra weapon by Ashwatthama is renewed.
Yes. So there is a long detour, the last 4 chapters, which you had discussed recently. So it's a very important principle which we can learn from this incident. That how, so when we are speaking Krishna Katha, or when we are speaking on Bhagavatam, or when we are preaching or teaching Bhagavad Gita to others, it's not about just giving the information, what is there. It is also about experiencing what we are speaking. So that is what is being told here. How the Saunaka Rishis, they inquired from Suta Goswami, and the Suta Goswami got lost while explaining how the incident took place. So he went off track and he started narrating about Krishna, right? So this is what actually the success of preaching, or success of speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam or any other spiritual topics, like that. So it is a constant theme in Srimad Bhagavatam also, you find, right? So how the speaker is affected by the subject matter he's speaking. So we have in the 3rd canto also. Of course, you have not gone to 3rd canto also. Uddhava, so when inquired by Vidura, so he also gets excited and he goes into trance and he narrates the glimpses of Vrindavan pastimes of Lord Krishna. So in 3rd canto only, in the first 4 chapters, the summary of the 10th canto is given. This is why, because Uddhava got lost while speaking. So this is what you find in Srimad Bhagavatam. Our speaking should not be like a tape recorder, just transmitting some information. We should be affected by the subject matter. Also, we find Parikshit Maharaj was anxious about Krishna when he was taken by Putana. You find this episode in 10th canto, right? In the 5th chapter, when Vasudeva goes to Mathura to give taxes to Kamsa. So when he was returning, so then he hears that the Putana Rakshasa was there in the village. So he becomes anxious. Then even Parikshit Maharaj also becomes anxious by hearing that Putana entered the village of Vrindavan. So seeing this, Sukadeva Goswami recognizes this anxiousness in Parikshit Maharaj, and then immediately quotes the verse. So Nayatra Shravanadini, Raksho Gnanini. Like wherever the Lord's pastimes are heard or the Lord's holy name is chanted, there nothing bad can happen. So like that, Sukadeva Goswami quotes that verse. So because there is no connection, but why Sukadeva Goswami is quoting is to pacify Parikshit Maharaj. So this is how actually the hearing or speaking should be on Bhagavatam. So the both parties should be affected. So by the information. Otherwise, if you are just speaking as a theory to pass the information, or the person is hearing, okay, formality, abhi to Bhakti Vaibhava ke liye maine form bhar diya, uska certificate chahiye, to academic style mein padhenge. We may not be able to actually get the result of what Srimad Bhagavatam can offer us. Because in the Srimad Bhagavatam only it is said, right? Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Shunnutam shvakata Krishna punya shravana kirtan. Hudentustohi abhadrani vidunoti surus. So when we attentively hear Srimad Bhagavatam, our heart actually gets cleansed by the Lord himself when he sees the sincerity. Even similarly when we speak also. So this is a constant theme in Srimad Bhagavatam. And Sukadeva Goswami also, he goes half track. When explaining 10th canto, very sequentially the topics, Vrindavan pastimes, then he tells about Akrura arriving, then Akrura taking Krishna entering Mathura. But suddenly in the 41st chapter, he gets lost like that. So why? Because he is experiencing the Krishna's presence, and then he tells not in a sequential or chronological order. If the academic scholars they study Srimad Bhagavatam, they will get confused thoroughly. Like, kya chal raha hai? Where from where it is going, like that. Because it's not just about chronology or academic study. It's about the experience that they are getting by speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not just an intellectual study. It's about experience. Yeah. Okay, so that is a lesson which we can learn. Goal of scriptural study or spiritual knowledge is not to discover some new information, but to establish our lost relation with Krishna. So that should be the goal of scriptural study. So generally in material subjects, what happens is students are excited when they discover some new formula or computer program or something. Scientists, they discover some new thing, they get excited. But that excitement doesn't last long. But in case of the spiritual subject matter, because the subject matter is non-different from Krishna, so he can reciprocate with us, or who is the reader. And even we read the same thing repeatedly again and again. Same Bhagavad Gita, you keep reading for 100 times also, the Bhagavad Gita will appear for you new. Because Krishna is there in Bhagavad Gita. So there's no difference between Krishna and Bhagavad Gita. The Lord's words and Lord, there is no difference. So therefore, it all depends upon our attitude and our mood in which we approach the books. It's not because of novelty of information, it is because of Krishna's reciprocation that we experience this higher taste. So therefore, always, whenever we are reading scriptures, or whenever we are speaking on scriptures, it's very, very important for us to actually be in a very prayerful mood and not just to gather some information, but actually to transform our heart so that we can go one step close to Krishna. Okay, so we go to the second verse. Tasya janma mahabuddhe karmani cha mahatmanah nidanam chayataiva shit saprityakatavanyata. Translation.
Next devotees can read, please. 18, 19, 20, 23.
Translation. I was the great Emperor Parikshit, who was a highly intelligent and great devotee, born in that womb. How did his death take place? And what did he achieve after his death?
Yeah. So 3 questions are being asked about Parikshit Maharaj, right? So how did his death take place? What did he achieve after his death? How was he born in that womb? About his birth and about his death. Of course, about his maintenance of the kingdom also, I think it comes in the next verse. So these 3 questions are asked about Parikshit Maharaj. Read the purport. Please read the purport.
Yes, Hitendra.
The king of Hastinapur, now Delhi, used to be the emperor of the world, at least till the time of the son of Emperor Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit was saved by the Lord in the womb of his mother, so he could certainly be saved from an untimely death due to the ill will of the son of a Brahmana. Because the age of Kali began to act just after the assumption of power by Maharaj Parikshit, the first sign of misgivings was exhibited in the cursing of such a great, intelligent and devoted king as Maharaj Parikshit. The king is the protector of the helpless citizens, and their welfare, peace and prosperity depend on him. Unfortunately, by the instigation of the fallen age of Kali, an unfortunate Brahmana's son was employed to condemn the innocent Maharaj Parikshit, and so the king had to prepare himself for death within 7 days. History will ever record this unfortunate incident of how a great king was killed by the unkind intrigue of the fallen son of a Brahmana. Maharaj Parikshit is especially famous as one who is protected by Vishnu, and when he was unduly cursed by a Brahmana's son, he could have invoked the mercy of the Lord to save him, but he did not want to because he was a pure devotee. A pure devotee never asks the Lord for any undue favor. Maharaj Parikshit knew that the curse of the Brahmana's son upon him was unjustified, as everyone else knew, but he did not want to counteract it because he knew also that the age of Kali had begun and that the first symptom of the age, namely degradation of the highly talented Brahmana community, had also begun. He did not want to interfere with the current of the time, but he prepared himself to meet death very cheerfully and very properly. Being fortunate, he got at least 7 days to prepare himself to meet death. And so he properly utilized the time in the association of Shukdev Goswami, the great saint and the devotee of the Lord.
Okay. It was very beautiful purport, where Prabhupada is telling about two things here. Right? So, what is telling? Yeah. So, if you see the verse, the two keywords are there: Mahabuddhe, Mahamana. So, in the verse, the intelligent and devoted king, the Parikshit Maharaj, actually he was cursed. So he was a very intelligent king because he know how to do expert management. He's expert both in administration and leading people spiritually. That's why the two words are used, Mahabuddhe and Mahamana. So he's very intelligent in making decisions, very sharp in making decisions for the material well-being of everyone. At the same time is Mahamana. Mahamana is a very devoted king. So he took care of their spiritual lives also, like that. So that is from the verse, and then important points from the purport. If we read that, so Parikshit Maharaj was actually saved in the womb itself. The Lord saved him in the womb only. And then why can't the Lord save him at the death? If Parikshit Maharaj asked the Lord we have saved him at the death also. But he did not petition the Lord to save him. Because why? He's a pure devotee. The pure devotee never asks for his own personal benefit. So that's what Prabhupada is mentioning. And also, one more point that is mentioned is that he didn't want to interfere with the current of time. So we saw that in purport, right? So Parikshit Maharaj could have counter-cursed or could have counteracted that curse. But he did not want to interfere with the current of time because the age of Kali is beginning. I think now I have to get down. There may be some purpose behind this. So a chaste devotee will not take undue favor from the Lord, even though the Lord is inclined to offer. So that we see. This is written in teachings of Queen Kunti. You read in the 8th chapter of this first canto only, that in 1.8.17, just let me see that verse, that Kunti Maharani says, Prabhupada writes in the purport that a chaste devotee will not take undue favor from Lord, even though the Lord is inclined to offer. The Lord may be inclined to offer many benedictions to us. So, but pure devotee is satisfied with the service of the Lord. And this we see also in the Bhishma's prayers. So, in the 9th chapter, Bhishma Dev, he says to the Pandavas. So, just let me see that verse 1.9.14. Yeah. So, this is the verse. Sarvam kala krutam manye Bhavatamcha yadapriyam sapalo yadvashe loko vayoriva khanavali. So Bhishma says that one Yudhishthira Maharaj is lamenting that, oh, I have killed so many people in the war. Then Krishna is telling that everybody is under the control of time. So just like the clouds are carried by the wind, so every one of us is carried by the time. So in the purport also, Prabhupada writes very nicely that there is control by time all over the space within the universe, and there is control by time all over the planets. It's a very beautiful purport. Later you can study. Especially I wanted to show you this. Yeah, I'm highlighting that. One should not be disturbed by the tricks of eternal time. Even the great controllers of the universe, Brahmaji, is also under the control of the time. Therefore, one should not grudge being thus controlled by the time, despite being a true follower of religious principles. So we may be following Dharma properly, we may be following Krishna consciousness nicely, but still there may be so many reverses happening in our life. So we may feel it is injustice. So there is one incident I was remembering. Of course, it's a general program, and Jayadvaita Maharaj was giving a lecture. One newcomer, he was asking the question. So why do bad things happen to good people? Like that he was showing to himself. So why do bad things happen to good people? Like so Maharaj very coolly, as you all know, so very simple way he answered that good people never come into this world. So he was silent. Because the fact that we are all in this world, that means we all disobeyed Lord and we came in this world. We don't want to follow the laws of the Lord. Similarly, so when we are getting some reversals in life, a pure devotee understand that this is my own karma or is the Lord's will. There is some higher purpose. So he doesn't want to counteract it, or he is not grudging why this is happening to. He very happily accepts it. So the epitome we see in the prayer of Brahma, Tattenu Kampam Susumikshamanam Bunjana Evatmakutam Vipaka. So who is actually a rightful claim, who can rightfully claim the spiritual kingdom is a person who is having such a consciousness that whatever happens in his life, he accepts it as the mercy of the Lord, and very happily, smilingly, he continues his service. He never discontinues his service, no matter what happens. So that is a principle which Parikshit Maharaj is also teaching us here, that when he was cursed, because he was very intelligently was administering the kingdom, and he is spiritually also nourishing them, he is doing best. But the Brahmana boy, very immaturely, he cursed him. But Parikshit Maharaj accepted it. Okay, this is the age of Kali now approaching. I think now there is some higher purpose. I need to wind up this management like that. It's a very, very important lesson for all of us. And yeah. Also, there are so many other examples also. Even Vamandev section, we see. Bali Maharaj also is telling to his associates that no one can overcome the influence of time. So because Prabhupada writes in that purport that Parikshit Maharaj doesn't want to interfere in the influence of time. So here Vamandev section also, Bali Maharaj, we see in this comes in yes, let me see, 8.21.22. Yeah. So what is the power of time? If you want to, maybe you can note down these verses and later peacefully study it. I quoted 3 verses, 1.8.17, that is teachings of Queen Kunti, and then Bhishma prayers 1.9.14, And then this was 8.21.22. So if you want to understand the power of time or influence of time. So this is also beautiful. Balena sachivair buddhya durgair mantraushadadibhi samadibir upayaischa kalam natyeti vaijana. So yeah, someone can read the translation, please.
No one can surpass the time representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by material power, by the council of ministers, by intelligence, by diplomacy, by fortresses, by mystic mantras, by drugs, by herbs, or by any other means.
So not by any other means. Because time is a representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, a pure devotee understands this and he just accepts it. So that's what Parikshit Maharaj is also doing here. Okay, so we'll go back to our verse. Okay, so one more point. What is spiritual time management? So people so much talk about time management, right? Especially when we're going to companies. So there are seminars on time management. So the material perspective of time management is that they see the time in a utility point of view. So how much we can earn in this period of time. So very, very important for them. So they count time in terms of money. Like that's why extra time somebody works, yeah, he will be paid more. And if somebody takes leave, salary will be cut. So the utility point of view they see. But a spiritualist, the time management, what is time management for a spiritualist? Can someone say, what is the time management for a spiritualist? A spiritual perspective of time management.
How can I use my time mostly for serving Krishna? That's what always will think.
Okay, how can I utilize my time for Krishna service? So by that you manage your time.
Prabhuji, can we say avyartha kalatvam, not wasting any time in material activities, but spending all time for Krishna's service?
Yeah, the same thing what Madan Mohan Prabhu has said. So by spending all the time for Krishna, of course we have our own duties, right? We have our own occupation, we have children, we have family. So if you all the time serve Krishna, how you do all those things? How you manage time for them?
Not see anything separate from Krishna.
Good. Not see anything separate. Your occupation, your service to your children or family is also a part of your service to Krishna. Very good. Good understanding. So from a spiritual perspective, we not only just see it from a utility point of view. Pardon, Ananda Mohan Mataji. Come again. So for
Krishna Prabhuji, do your southern mind when your daily prescribed duties, keeping Krishna in center or in a Krishna conscious state.
Yes. Very nice point. Thank you. So keeping Krishna in center and doing all our duties.
Am I audible, Prabhuji?
You are audible. Maybe net is problem with you. It was cutting, but I could get the message. I could get what you told, that we need to do our duties, keeping Krishna center. So all of you are right. The time management from a spiritual perspective is that time is not different from Krishna, as we saw in the previous slokas, that it's a representation of Krishna. So a spiritualist, they see time as Krishna only. Kalos me, Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita. So then how can we manage the supreme manager, right? If time is Krishna and Krishna is the supreme manager, how can I manage Krishna? So we can never manage time. That is a misnomer. So therefore, time management for a spiritual is to manage one's life according to the will of the supreme manager. So therefore, when we actually align our lives according to the desire of the Supreme Lord, when we lead the life according to the principles given in Bhagavad Gita, that is actually time management. Then we get enough time, plentiful time to do all other duties also, like occupation, family, society, all the responsibilities we can nicely manage. Then we actually live our life according to the will of the Supreme Master. So that is a spiritual perspective of time management. Okay, so we'll go to the next verse. Third verse. Tadidam shotumichamo gaditum yadi manyase bruhina shraddha dananam yasya gnanamadachchuka. This translation.
Hare Krishna. We all respectfully want to hear about him, Maharaj Parikshit, to whom Sukadev Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge. Please speak on this matter.
So actually somehow I made notes and highlighted, not got saved. I made a little marks. Okay, so therefore I'm wondering what you should read. Okay, maybe you can start reading purport. Yeah, please read the purport.
Yeah. Sukadev Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge to Maharaj Parikshit during the remaining 7 days of his life, and Maharaj Parikshit heard him properly, just like an ardent student. The effect of such a bona fide hearing and chanting of Srimad Bhagavatam was equally shared by both the hearer and the chanter. Both of them were benefited.
You can stop here. So this is the main point in this verse, that how the spiritual knowledge should be received, or how it should be spoken. So if you see the verse, the important words are Shrotumichamo. Here the Shaunaka Rishis, they are telling that Shrotumichamo means we are very eager to hear. And Shraddhadhananam, we are having we respectfully want to hear about Parikshit Maharaj. And so please tell us what you heard from Sukadeva Goswami, or what Sukadeva Goswami has spoken to Parikshit Maharaj. So that knowledge only you speak to us in Parampara. So here the qualification of both the speaker and the hearer. So that is coming. So the students, Shaunaka Rishis, they are very eager to hear about Parikshit Maharaj and very respectful about whom they want to hear, Shraddhadanana. And they are requesting Suta Goswami to speak not his own mental speculation, but what he heard from, or what Sukadeva Goswami has spoken to Parikshit Maharaj. So this is, the speaker should be bona fide and the hearer should be ardent, are very attentive and very sincere and eager to learn the subject matter. So when these two things are there, so then we see the success of hearing or speaking. See, there's a good combination for spiritual experience, bona fide speaker and ardent student. Transcendental realization is attained by such serious hearing and chanting, not otherwise. Prabhupada is telling in that purport. So if you really want transcendental experience, then we need to have such serious hearing and chanting. Such discussion should be there. That's why, especially when there are great souls visiting the temple, or so we should take time to go and attend their talk, because it's not just some information coming, it's about through their mouth, actually, they are sharing Krishna consciousness, because they are bona fide speakers. And when we are ardent hearers, then we can benefit much in that association. And Prabhupada also in the down the purport, he writes about the insincere combination. Like here he was telling, the Sukadeva Goswami is a bona fide speaker and Parikshit Maharaj was an ardent student. So down the purport, Prabhupada says that, but there is a much advertised in the material world that one person speaks and the other person hears and he gets some shock. And the person who is speaking, he loses all his energy, all his power. So that kind of things, they are bogus actually. That's an insincere combination. Yeah, it is said that the master injects spiritual force into a disciple by an electric current generated by the master, and the disciple begins to feel the shock. He becomes unconscious and the master weeps for his exhausting store of the so-called spiritual assets. So that is not the actual process of speaking or hearing. And Prabhupada concludes down the purport that ardent hearing from the bona fide master is the only way to receive transcendental knowledge. Just let me go to the purport. Prabhupada says, conclusion. This one, ardent hearing from the bona fide spiritual master is the only way to receive transcendental knowledge, and there is no need for medical performances or occult mysticism for miraculous effects. The process is simple, but only the sincere party can achieve the desired result. It's a very simple process. All right. But simple, what you have to do, you just go and just hear. Nothing we need to do. We need not do any big management or big planning or big physical hard work. Just go and sit in the association of devotees, especially when there are great souls speaking. And we get a lot of benefit from that. We get a lot of nourishment, transcendental experiences. So that is what is being told in this verse. Just a minute. Yeah, this we can see even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he heard from Ishwarapuri, Ishwarapuri initiated him, and then he was experiencing such a transcendental emotions. He was chanting the holy names and he was experiencing ecstasy. And also the South Indian Brahmana, when the Guru instructed him, you read Bhagavad Gita, and he told, I don't know how to read. I don't know even how to spell also. He was holding the book in the reverse order, and he was studying in that Srirangam temple, and all the learned Brahmanas, they were laughing. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw this scene. And then he asked the Brahmana, so why you are wasting your time and these people are laughing at you? And he told, no, what Guru told, therefore I am reading, trying to read. And then Mahaprabhu asked, so why you are crying tears if you don't understand anything? Then he told, I don't know, I'm just doing what my Guru told, but because, but whenever I see the picture, how the Lord is driving the chariot of Arjuna, so this brings tears in my house. Then Mahaprabhu embraced him that you actually understood the essence of Bhagavad Gita. See, this is how the transformation, you can see the examples. If the student is very ardent, then the experiences, the symptoms can be easily seen. So the whole problem is that there are so many contaminations in our heart, which doesn't allow us to take this simple process very seriously. The process is very simple. For everyone it is open, but because of our own contaminations in the heart, we are unable to take this process. Yeah, so there are so many examples in Srimad Bhagavatam also, how the students are very eager. They are repeatedly asking the speakers, please tell us. More we want to hear, right? Example, in the first canto only, in the first chapter only, you saw that Vayam tuna vitrupyama uttama shloka vikrame swadu pade pade. We want to hear more and more about the uttama shloka, the Lord. So please describe like that. Okay, so this is the third verse. Then fourth, before going to fourth verse, the link is, so now till now the questions were again repeated by the sages. And now from 4, 5, and 6. So why they are being told is that the cause of getting such a grandson as Parikshit Maharaj is told in next 3 verses. So such a great soul whom Lord personally protected. So how he took birth in this family, that is being narrated in the next 3 verses. And Suta Goswami tells this because this is the glory of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Because of his rule and his devotion, Parikshit Maharaj took birth in his family. 4th verse. Suta Uvacha Apipala Dharmaraja Pitruvadranjayan Praja Nishpruha Sarva Kamebhya Krishna Pada Anusevaya. Please read translation.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Shrut Goswami said, Emperor Yudhishthira administered generously to everyone during his reign. He was exactly like his father. He had no personal ambition and was freed from all sort of sense gratification because of his continuous service unto the lotus feet of the Lord Shri Krishna.
Krishna Pada Anusevaya. So he was continuously rendering service to the Lord. Yeah, please read.
Purport. As mentioned in our introduction, there is a need for the signs of Krishna in human society for all the suffering humanity of the world. And we simply request the leading personalities of all nations to take to the signs of the Krishna for their own good, for the good of the society and for the good of all the people of the world. So it is confirmed herein by the example of Maharaj Yudhishthira, the personality of goodness. In India, the people hanker after Ram Rajya because the personality of Godhead was the ideal king, and all other kings or emperors in India controlled the destiny of the world for the prosperity of every living thing, every living being who took birth on the earth. Herein,
Yeah,
the word.
please, you can stop here. So till now, here the purport or Prabhupada is speaking about. See, if you see the purport, Prabhupada, he goes, he speaks what is given in the sloka only, the words, particular words he explains in particular paragraphs. So here, till now what Mataji has read, so what Prabhupada is speaking about, why Prabhupada started like that, that there's a need for the signs of Krishna in the society, for the good of all suffering humanity of the world. And we simply request that all the leaders should take this Krishna consciousness seriously and spread. So why Prabhupada is mentioning this? Anyone can, any guess?
So, Prabhuji, I was just thinking that, Prabhupada in the introduction of Bhagavatam, he has written that Bhagavatam is a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of the world.
Okay.
So, therefore, he is requesting the world leaders that if they follow this process, then only, all good can happen in the world.
Yeah, of course.
That is one thought.
Of course, that is true. But here in this context, that because if you see the verse, Suta Uvacha, what is telling? Apipala Dharmaraja. So Dharmaraja is Yudhishthira Maharaj. And what is Apipala? If you see that translation, administered prosperity. Because he is a king, to please the citizens, he administered prosperity. He is managing such a way that the citizens are happy and they are prosperous, even materially also. So in that way, he actually administered the kingdom. So that is how Prabhupada took that word, Apipalad. And then he was, again, even in translation also, if you see, Yudhishthira Maharaj administered generously to everyone during his reign. And the same thing, if you see in the purport also, Prabhupada continues that theme only. That actually the administration can happen and the people can get benefited only if there is Krishna consciousness. So that is actually the Yudhishthira Maharaj, how he was administering. So Prabhupada actually even explains down also, if you see the purport, so we'll see that this is the perfect way of administration karke. Prabhupada ji bolte. So that is the Ramarajya way, or Yudhishthira Maharaj's way of ruling the kingdom, because they themselves are Krishna consciousness and they rule in such a way that the citizens are happy. And one more significant word, praja, is also explained. How wherever you find praja, and throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada tells this point. The praja means everyone, not just human beings, even animals, everyone are considered praja. So the king's duty is to protect them, not just protecting human beings and killing animals. What kind of humanitarian work is this? That is incomplete. So we should protect animals also. We should not unnecessarily kill them. So Prabhupada is a constant theme. Whenever praja comes, he says that we should protect the animals also. That is the duty of a king. Yeah. Okay, you can read this last paragraph. Maharaj Yudhishthira knew the science of Krishna very well.
Maharaj Yudhishthira knew this science of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, continue.
Maharaj Yudhishthira knew this science of Krishna very well, for it is stated here that by continuous cultivation of this science, or by continuous devotional service to Lord Krishna, he acquired the qualification to administer the state like a father. The father is sometimes seemingly cruel to the sons, but that doesn't mean that the father has lost the qualification to be a father. A father is always a father because he always has the good of the sons at heart. The father wants every one of his sons to become a better man than himself. Therefore, a king like Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was the personality of goodness, wanted everyone under the administration, especially human beings who have better developed consciousness, to become devotees of Lord Krishna, so that everyone can become free from the trifles of material existence. His motto of administration was all good for the citizens, for as personified goodness, he knew perfectly well what is actually good for them. He conducted the administration on that principle and not on the Rakshasi demonic principle of sense gratification. As an ideal king, he had no personal ambition, and there was no place for sense gratification, because all his senses at all times were engaged in the loving service of the Supreme Lord, which includes the partial service of the living beings, partial service to the...
We can stop here. So, as I was saying, this is a way how Yudhishthira Maharaj administered the kingdom. So that he was Krishna Padanu Sevaya. He was continuously engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, the citizens in his rule, they were happy materially and spiritually in both ways. So that is the way of Yudhishthira Maharaj's administration. Prabhupada writes in the last. That is the way of perfect manners of state administration. So you can go through the purport, very nice purport later, very important lessons to be learned. So many people say is Manav Seva, Madhav Seva. When can true Manav Seva happen? Actually, that is given in this purport. So Manav Seva actually happens when we do Madhav Seva, because that is included in that. Krishna Padanu Seva. Yudhishthira Maharaj is continuously rendering service to the Lord, and automatically is taking care of his citizens, because he knew perfectly well that the citizens are part and parcels of Krishna, they are children of Krishna. Therefore, it is my duty to take care of them. So therefore, only truly a devotee can only be a best humanitarian. Right? So Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, you can see, he has showed also practically. He is a pure devotee of the Lord. He could have sat in Vrindavan and did his bhajan. But he wanted to benefit the whole world. So he went to the West, and now you can see how the Krishna consciousness is spreading, and everybody is getting benefited, even materially also. Prabhupada says, just chant and take prasadam, the face of the whole world can be changed. Like that. So once he was doing in Hyderabad, there is a drought. There is no rain only for so many months. Then Prabhupada did that Bhagavad Katha and then Harinam Sankirtan, then rains came. Right? This is the practical way Prabhupada says that there will be no scarcity in food. There will be no quarrels in society. Even if only the governments take this policy of doing kirtan and distributing prasadam, there will not be any quarrels between the nations also. There will be peace and prosperity in the society. So this is how actually Manav Seva can happen. And that is not different from Madhav Seva, because it's like pouring the water on the root. You need not put your water, that sprayer and on the leaves and the flowers and the fruits separately. That you can do, but that is not sufficient. You need to put water on the root. Right? So then automatically everything will be taken care of. Right? So who can truly serve the citizens? That is given in this verse. You see, when there is no personal ambition for sense gratification, and when one is continuously devoted to Supreme Lord. These are two conditions are there. If you go to the verse, yeah. So what are the words? Nispruha sarva kamebhyo Krishna padanu sevaya. He has no personal ambition for sense gratification, and he is continuously rendering service to the Supreme Lord. These two conditions are there if one wants to render service to humanity. Best service he can render. Okay. Next verse. Sampadakratavo loka mahishi brataro mahi jambudvipadi patyam cha yashascha trividam gatam. Translation.
Sachin Prabhu?
News even reached the celestial planets about Maharaja Yudhishthira, worldly possessions, the sacrifices by which he would attain a better destination, his queen, his stalwart brothers, his extensive land, his sovereignty over the planet Earth, and his fame, etc.
Okay, so about Yudhishthira Maharaj, his fame and glory reached even the heavenly planets, right? So all these things are given here. Sampadah Kratavo Loka, Mahishi, he has his wife, Bhrataru, his brothers, he has a rule over the earth, Jambudvipadhipatyam, his fame, everything reached even the heavenly planets. And they were all eagerly waiting to receive Yudhishthira Maharaj. So Prabhupada in the purport writes very beautifully that one can go to the heavenly planets not by one's mechanical means or personal endeavors. He can go to the higher planets by sacrifice and service. That Prabhupada says in the purport where he says. Here he says, one must qualify himself to enter into the such happy planets by sacrifice and service. So by our selfless service and austerity sacrifices, we can reach the heavenly planets or higher planets, whatever it may be. So here Yudhishthira Maharaj, because he was such a great king, he was ruling in such a exemplary way, his fame reached even before he reached. And they were all waiting. The heavenly residents, they were all eagerly waiting to receive Yudhishthira Maharaj. Right? That's what Prabhupada says in the last. Maharaj Yudhishthira's good sacrifices and qualifications were so lofty and virtuous that even the residents of the higher celestial planets were already prepared to receive him as one of them. Right? So it's not, it is said now, we should not demand but command respect. So by our service and by our sacrifices, what we are doing in life, the people should automatically respect or automatically receivers. So that is the point here. Yeah. Okay, we will not go to the next verse. Kim te kamasparha mukunda manaso dvija adijahur mudam ragna shuditasya yate tare. Yes, translation.
O Brahmanas, the opulence of the king was so enchanting that the designs of heaven aspired for it. But because he was absorbed in the service of the Lord, nothing could satisfy him except the Lord's service.
Read the purport.
There are two things in the world which can satisfy living beings. When one is materially engrossed, he is satisfied only by sense gratification. But when one is liberated from the conditions of the material modes, he is satisfied only by rendering loving service for the satisfaction of the Lord. This means that the living being is constitutionally a servitor and not one who is served. Being illusioned by the conditions of the external energy, one falsely thinks himself to be the served. But actually, he is not the served, he is the servant of his senses and his lust, desire, anger, avarice, pride, madness, and intolerance. When one is in his proper senses by attainment of spiritual knowledge, he realized that he is not the master of the material world, but is only a servant of the senses. At that time, he begs for the service of the Lord and thus becomes happy without being illusioned by so-called material happiness. Maharaj
Okay,
Yudhishthira
you
was
can
one.
stop here. So here the description of two kinds of people are giving. One is one who gets happiness by sense gratification, one who gets happiness by service or spiritual life. Like two kinds of people are there, no? Bhagavad Gita also says it, right? Yanisha Sarva Bhutanam Yasham Jagriti Samyati. That what is night for a spiritualist is daytime for the materialistic. Similarly, so somebody who is taking pleasure in sense gratification, for them spiritual life appears boring. And for somebody who is taking pleasure in spiritual life, material life becomes boring. Who is mad? Everybody is mad. Somebody is mad for material life, somebody is mad for spiritual life. So we find always these two kinds of people. So we have to see in our own personal life, where is my heart? Where do I get pleasure? I get pleasure in sense gratification, or I get pleasure in Krishna conscious activities, core Krishna conscious activities of hearing, chanting, associating with devotees, rendering service. So we need to check. So here, if you see the verse, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he is having such an opulence that even the denizens of heaven are aspiring for it. You can see the heavenly planets, what kind of opulence is there? If we find the description, right? Nandana gardens, and where there is no disease and where there is no old age, only birth and death, right? Such heavenly opulence they have, still they are also aspiring for the opulence what Yudhishthira Maharaj had, his fame, his kingdom, his brothers, right? But the main wonderful point is that he was absorbed in the service of the Lord and nothing could satisfy him except the Lord's service. ये सब उनको कुछ क्या बोलते हैं उसको kick नहीं दे रहे. He is not at all bothered about them because he is absorbed and he is getting such a kick from the service of the Lord that he is least bothered about all these other things. So it's a very, very wonderful point. And yeah, why? Because Mukunda Manaso, because his mind is fully absorbed in rendering service to the Lord, right? So this is the spiritual hunger. When we are spiritually hungry, the material objects will not give us satisfaction. The material food or whatever, that may satisfy our material hunger. So Prabhupada writes about this in the purport down, if you see. The hunger, that is what people are experiencing. That is actually spiritual hunger. So why? Because even somebody is fed thoroughly, or even somebody is materially well situated, we can still see that he is not happy, right? So that we see in the society. Even people have become the millionaires, billionaires. They have seen the end of the road of material success, and then they say that there is no other end. The road is blocked here. So the point is, unless the spiritual hunger is satisfied, one will not be happy in this world. Like suppose you are fasting on Nijjala Ekadasi. Yesterday only Ekadasi was there. We fasted. Some devotees fast on every Ekadasi, but say Nijjala Ekadasi we fasted from water also. Next day, what is that most wanted for us? What is that we are actually hankering for? Early morning, when we are doing japa, we are chanting Hare Krishna, but Krishna doesn't enter our ears. And the heart will be chanting, when I can taste Nimbu juice, right? So at that time, if you have visited some other temple, the new temple, and devotees are receiving you, they may put garland on you or they may put chandan to you, but is that of any relevance to you? Because you are eager to take Nimbu juice. Nothing else will satisfy you. Similarly, because Vishnu Maharaj is fully absorbed in the service of the Lord, all other things did not bother him or did not trouble him. The prayer also is there, not Prahlad Maharaj. Sorry, not Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj. So he was hankering for getting a kingdom greater than Brahma, right? So he was doing tapasya for that, but at the end, after 6 months, when the Lord appeared before him, he was thinking, Are, what I prayed for? I prayed for a broken pieces of glass. When the Supreme Lord, a diamond is there before me. Kachin vichinman natibidyaratnam. Swamin kutatosmi varam nayachi. So the Supreme diamond is there before me. I'm asking for a broken pieces of glass. Like that. So therefore, the point is, when we experience higher taste, we can easily say no to sense gratification. Our sense gratification doesn't register in our mind only. There is no question of controlling. So therefore, param drushtva nivartate. So one can actually control the control is complete when there is higher, when an experience is a higher taste. Right? In the 3rd canto, 15th chapter, when there is a description of spiritual world, there also the description of Vaikuntha, men and women, and they're going in the airplanes. So how beautiful they were, that is being described, and they were not attracted to each other. The men were beautiful and strong, and the women were also beautiful, wearing nice ornaments and dresses, but still they were not attracted to each other. Why? Because they are absorbed in the service of the Lord. So this is how actually we can overcome the pulls of this world, overcome the attractions of this world, is by getting the higher taste. Dhanurdas also, the story is there, Dhanurdas. He was attracted to a prostitute. When the procession is going in Srirangam, Utsavamurti ko leke ja rahe hain. In Srirangam, 360 days festivals will be there, 300 days festivals will be there in a year. And they take the Utsavamurti. And this fellow, he was walking backside, seeing a prostitute and getting lost in her beauty and putting an umbrella over her head. And seeing this, Ramanujacharya felt pity. What is this fellow? Here the Lord's procession is going on. He is seeing the beauty of this prostitute. So I will show him, I will give him mercy. So he called him and he told, why you are walking backside? And here the procession of Lord is going on. And he told, I have never seen such a beautiful eyes in this world. So I am lost in that. Then Ramanujacharya told, if I show you more beautiful than this, would you come, would you stop all this thing? Then Nana said, yes, if you show me more beautiful, then I'm ready to just follow what you say. Then Ramanujacharya took him in the inner chamber, crossing the 7 doors, took him into the that Garbhagudi, and he made him stand in front of Ranganath. And he prayed to Ranganath that please, he is kamuk, he has become so lusty that your procession is going and is attracted to that woman. Then Ramanuja prayed, that darshan opened. And then because the devotee prayed, the Lord has given such a darshan that the Dhanurdas actually got captivated by the beauty of the Lord. And that higher taste actually forgot the beauty of the prostitute. Of course, by the instruction of Ramanujacharya, they both got married and they become disciples also. So, but the point is that instead of trying to very painfully controlling our senses from sense objects, of course, we should do that. It's not that we indulge in them unnecessarily, but the main thing is we develop a higher taste by rendering service to the Lord. And one more point is that especially for congregation devotees, Prabhupada mentions in the 7th canto, 5th chapter, 23rd to 24th verses. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. So that I will recommend. So please read, go through that purport. Archanam, where Archanam comes, Prabhupada speaks about Archanam, the deity worship. So especially for congregation, of course, for brahmacharis also. That's very important that they get absorbed in the serving the deities, or even in home also we can have small deities and we can serve them. And then actually we will, even in living in this material world with so many allurements and attractions, will not get infected. Prabhupada writes there. So we can easily come above all these things by rendering service to the Lord and in a loving manner. Okay. I think I'll just give a 5 minutes break, 5 to 10 minutes. So again, you can assemble and we'll continue. Okay.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll continue. Hare Krishna. I think my voice is clear. So we will continue 7th verse. We are seeing. So there's much to discuss on 6th verse, but I'm already moving very slowly, not going to it. 7th verse. Matur garbhagato vira satada bhugunanda yadarsha purusham kanchit dahyamanosprate jasa. Translation, please.
O son of Bhrigu Shaunak, when the child Parikshit, the great fighter, was in the womb of his mother Uttara and was suffering from the burning heat of the Brahmastra thrown by Ashwatthama, he could observe the Supreme Lord coming to him.
No, actually, the description begins because they asked about Parikshit Maharaj. Sudhir Goswami starts narrating. The 3 verses, the 4, 5, 6, like an introduction, how Parikshit Maharaj took birth in the family because of Vishnu Maharaj is such a great devotee of the Lord. Okay, read the purport.
Death generally involves remaining in trance for 7 months. A living being. Death generally involves remaining in trance for 7 months. A living being, according to his own action, is allowed to enter into the womb of a mother by the vehicle of a father's semen, and thus he develops his desired body. This is the law of birth in specific bodies according to one's past actions. When he is awake from the trance, he feels
the inconvenience of being confined within the womb, and thus he wants to come out of it, and sometimes fortunately prays to the Lord for such liberation. So if you carefully observe what Prabhupada is speaking, which part of Srimad Bhagavatam Prabhupada is speaking, anyone can guess?
Third canto.
Yeah, 3rd canto, which section?
Kardam, Devahuti section.
Yeah, Devahuti ka last session mein 31 chapter mein description of the child in the womb, right? 3.31 chapter. So Prabhupada is speaking that how the child suffers in the womb. So many inconveniences. Generally, this is a process of birth that one, according to his karma, enters a particular womb and suffers. But why it is being told here by Prabhupada? Because he is not an ordinary child, Parikshit Maharaj. Matur Garbha Gato Viraha. So he entered the womb of the mother, Uttara. He is not an ordinary child. He is a Vira. He is a Chaival's king. And that he is a Vira, that the Supreme Lord himself came to protect him. Also, his Vira, Prabhupada writes in the purport that he could tolerate that tormenting heat of Brahmastra, right? The natural Kshatriya spirit. So that is being told here. Astrate, Dahyamama Astrate could tolerate the heat. And then he saw the Lord also who came to protect him. Tadasya Purusham Kanchi. That is being told here. So here the purport, if you see. So Even in that helpless condition, the child Parikshit endured the unbearable temperature due to his being a great fighter by nature. And for this reason, the word Veer has been used. Special points. Yeah. So Parikshit Maharaj actually now he is in the womb, and how could he see the Lord? There it is said Tadarsha. So there Krishna Chakravarti tells that Parikshit Maharaj saw the Lord through his mental eyes, because he is still in the womb and the eyes are closed. So Parikshit Maharaj could see the Lord in the mental eyes. That's what is being explained. Okay, 8th verse. Angushtamatram amalam spuratamolinam apivyadarshanam shyamam tadipasasamachutam. So what kind of a form he saw in that womb that is being described in this verse? Read the translation.
He, the Lord, who only thumb high, but he was all transcendental. He had very beautiful, blackish, infallible body, and he wore a garment of lightning yellow and a helmet of blazing gold. Thus he was seen by the child.
So this is the form Parikshit Maharaj saw in the womb, not through his physical eyes, but through his mental eyes. Right? So yeah, we'll continue. Srimad Dirga Chaturbaham Taptakanchana Kundalam Shatajaksham Gadapanim Atmanas Sarvatodisham Paribramantam Malkavam Brahmayantam Gadam. Is the translation? The Lord was enriched with 4 hands, earrings of molten gold, and eyes blood red with fury. As he loitered about, his blood constantly encircled him like a shooting star. So he saw the Lord having a blazing, glaring yellow garments. Yeah, Angushtamatram, only a thumb size. He saw the Lord at thumb size only. Right, and then he was with 4 hands, with the earrings of molten gold, eyes blooded with fury, so angry. Parikshit Maharaj could see that Lord is so angry. And who can dare to kill my devotee? So, like Narasimha was also so angry when Prahlad was being attacked by Hiranyakashipu. That such a fury came to kill him. So that Parikshit Maharaj saw. And then he was constantly encircling his Gada. And it appears like a shooting star, so fast. So the Lord is, you can see the Lord's love for the devotee here in these verses. How the Lord is so eager to protect his surrendered devotees. So it is said that Lord is ever willing for living in this condition souls that they will turn back to him. And he is giving so many opportunities through scriptures and through saints. And he personally comes in so many incarnations. He's ever willing so that the living entities again they will come back to him. Not only just willing, he is ever waiting. Right? As Paramatma, wherever we go, in whichever species, he accomplishes us. Right? He's ever willing, not only ever willing, he is ever waiting, and then we'll turn back to him. Not only waiting, he is ever working. He is constantly working. How this soul can be brought back to me, to spiritual kingdom. So that is actually the all-merciful nature of the Lord. If he does it for a conditioned soul, what to speak of a pure devotee like Parikshit Maharaj. Right? So that is, you can see in these verses that Lord came with his Gada and with Chakra also. Not only Chakra, he thought if the Chakra fails, then I'll use my Gada. Like that, he was so eager. Like in the battlefield of Kurukshetra also. When Bhishma Deva took that vow that I will kill Arjuna next day. So Lord was in tension. Arjuna ko much tension nahi. Arjuna was fighting full vigor and still he was falling short because Bhishma was in full form. And then Bhishma took a vow that either Arjuna should die or Krishna should lift him. So then Krishna has to come down and lift that wheel. Even though he took a vow that I will not lift any weapon, he has broken his own vow to fulfill Bhishma's promise and of course to protect Arjuna. So this is our Lord. So it's very eager, very willing, never waiting and never working for the protection of devotees, for the upliftment of the living in this. So that we can see in these verses. And if you see the form of the Lord, what Parikshit Maharaj saw in the womb, it is described as Angushtamatra, only of thumb size. But later we see that Parikshit Maharaj was searching also. Why the name Parikshit was given to him Parikshit? Because he was very scrutinizingly seeing everyone. Is this a person whom I saw in the womb? Is this a person? Like, he was actually seeing the people of his size, right? People who is at least 5-6 feet. But the description given is the Angushtamatra he saw. So what is this incompatible? So that Acharya say that actually by the inconceivable potency of the Lord, even in that womb, even the Lord was the size of a thumb, Parikshit Maharaj could see actually the full form of the Lord as a normal grown-up person. So that is, I think, one can actually see the transcendental form of the Lord only by the inconceivable potency of the Lord. So that is being told. Not only Parikshit Maharaj was empowered to see the form, but also to understand that this is not the actual size of the Lord, what I am seeing. It's not just Angushtamatram. He's very tall, Ajanu Lambita Bhujo, like that personality. He not only saw the Lord in the womb, but he could remember him. Right? See, generally, even we don't know that we suffered so much in the womb. Right? How many of us remember? Because we forget as we become old. And Parikshit Maharaj not only saw the Lord in the womb, but he could remember him. How this is possible? Unless by the inconceivable power of the Lord. So that is being told in this 8th and 9th verses. And one more important point we can see from these verses is that just like Krishna with cowherd boys, when he was taking lunch, so he made them feel that he was with them. There were so many circles that were formed and they were taking prasadam. And then every cowherd boy felt that Krishna is watching me only and he's face to face. His face is He was personal with every cowherd boy. Similarly, when he was calling the cows, he was calling the name of one cow. He has millions of cows with him. Like that. Dhavala, he says. But when he calls one cow, all the cows hears their own names and they get attracted to Krishna. So that is how personal Krishna is. Like even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Rathayatra, you see, he was there in the 7 circles. The Rathayatra is happening. In each circle, Pratapatra could see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present. Krishna with 16,108 queens in Dwaraka. So that is Krishna's nature, that he makes himself personal to his devotees. Like he was visible to Parikshit Maharaj here in the womb, and he, by his inconceivable potency, he made Parikshit Maharaj remember him and understand his actual size also. Even great souls also. Great souls, they have thousands of disciples, like our own, whoever Guru Maharaj we have or we are aspiring for. So you can see when they visit the temples, so they attract our heart so much, and we are just lining to just meet him. We have glimpse. Just one smile of a great soul will make us so feel so wonderful, because they will make everyone feel special in their association. Even though we are so insignificant, they will make us feel special. It's a very important responsibility of a preacher that we should make the subject matter so easy for the audience to understand. So here the Lord entering into the womb in the thumb size, but he made Parikshit Maharaj saw him, understand him, and also remove him. So it's not Chakravarti writes that this indicates that this form, like a rain cloud ornamented with lightning, had suddenly appeared in the sky of Uttara's womb to save the young elephant Parikshit, who was being burned by the forest fire of that Brahmastra. It's a very nice analogy he gives. That okay, so we'll go to the next verse. The ninth purport we have not seen, right? Okay, in this purport, what is highlighted is the Lord's love for his devotee. So he is appearing for Parikshit Maharaj. That is being highlighted, and of course, then Archa Vigraha. That part we can see. Can you read this? Archa Vigraha.
The Archa is therefore an all spiritual form of the Lord to be perceived by the material devotees, such and Archa of the Lord is never to be considered material. There is no difference between the matter and the spirit for the Lord, although there is a gulf of difference between the two in case of the conditioned living being. For the Lord, there is nothing but spiritual existence, and similarly, there is nothing except spiritual existence for the pure devotee of the Lord.
Yeah, his intimate relation with the Lord. So why Prabhupada?
In his intimate relation with the Lord. Sorry.
So why Prabhupada is mentioning suddenly about Archa Vigraha, right? So why? Because Parikshit Maharaj, for Parikshit Maharaj, Lord made himself visible, right? So even though he is in such a state where he could not see, but he could, by his inconceivable potency, make himself visible. Similarly, for a material devotees, are those devotees who are like here in this world, they cannot experience Lord's transcendental form. For their benefit, Lord takes the form of a Archamurti. So therefore, the Archa Vigraha, the deity is not different from Krishna. We should not consider them material. He is Krishna. Prabhupada says, don't think that Krishna is there in deity. Krishna is deity, especially when the Prana Pratishtha is done. It's not different from Krishna. So all the benefit, the personal presence of Krishna can be taken by going in front of the deities and praying actually. So to the degree we see the deities as sentient beings. Sentient being means like you and me, personal. They have feelings. Speak wrong words, then you will feel bad. So they will also feel bad. If you don't respect them, they will feel bad. If you praise them, they will feel happy. If you serve them nicely, they will feel happy. So to the degree you see the Archamurti as sentient beings, to the degree they will respect it. If you see them as material, some stones standing there, they will not respect. So this is how Prabhupada is connecting that. Archa Vigraha is the all-merciful form for the material devotees to approach him. Okay, so we go to the next verse, 10th verse. Asta tejasva kadaya nihara navagopati vidamantam sannikarshe paryayikshata kaitaso. Translation.
The Lord was thus engaged in vanquishing the radiation of the Brahmastra, which just as the sun evaporates a drop of dew. He was observed by the child who thought about who he was.
Who he was. Who this personality was. So he was not an ordinary personality. That's what Prabhupada says, how it continues. Read the next verse also. Viduya tadameyatma bhagavan dharma gupti nishato dashamasasya tatraivan tadade hari. Read this.
Jayaprakash Prabhu.
True. While thus being observed by the child, the Supreme Lord Personality of Godhead, the supersoul of everyone and the protector of the righteous, who stretch in all directions and who is unlimited by time and space, disappeared at once.
So here the difference between the living entity and the Lord is broken by Srila Prabhupada in half of the purport, that the personality whom Parikshit Maharaj saw in the womb is not an ordinary personality. It's Bhagavan with full opulences. Even though he appeared in Angushta Matram, this size, he has full potency. And his Vibhu is not an ordinary personality. That's what actually Prabhupada writes in the purport, that the difference between ordinary living entity and a Supreme Lord, that both are conscious, but the Supreme Lord is conscious of every living entity, whatever is happening in their lives. Even before the living entity knows what his desire is, the Supreme Lord is aware of that. Right? That we may forget our desires, but the Lord reminds us. So that is his position. We are actually, our remembrance is only tiny. So that's how Prabhupada tells that Lord is not an ordinary person. And he disappeared. He was shown. He made himself visible to Parikshit Maharaj, and immediately at that moment, at that place only, he disappeared. Even though he is everywhere present. Even before his visibility to Parikshit Maharaj, he was there in that womb. Because Lord is all pervading. So at that time he became visible and immediately he became lost. That's why that word is used, Dasamashashya. You see, Prabhupada writes the purport that one who is trusted by 10 directions. That means what? He's all pervading.
Seems Prabhuji got disconnected.
Yeah.
Sorry, my charger got finished. Yeah. So what I was telling, which sloka I was there? 10th sloka. Okay. 11th sloka, I'm explaining this, right? Bhagavan, his Vibhu is not an ordinary child. who became visible. So in Dashamaharshya, the word I am explaining, Prabhupada also writes in the purport that one who is dressed by the 10 directions. That means what is all pervading. He is there before also in the book, and he just manifested. And again he made himself and manifested. And Harihi, if you see the word Harihi, Vishnu Chakrika will use very nice thing that just like a thief enters and he steals something and he disappears. Similarly, the Lord entered the womb of Uttara and steal the heart of our mind of Parikshit Maharaj and he disappeared. So that Krishna Chakravarti is the Lord is like a thief stealing away the heart of Parikshit Maharaj. And Prabhupada very nicely tells in the end of the purport. So yeah, this one someone can read the yellow part.
This material covering of the effulgent firmament is also something with like a womb of the Mother Nature, and we are all put into the womb by the Lord, the Father of all living beings. He is present everywhere, even in this material world womb of Mother Durga, and those who are deserving can see the Lord.
So this material world is also like womb, Mother Durga, and we are all put in this womb like Parikshit Maharaj, and the Lord is being all pervading. He can make himself visible to us in this material world also, but if not deserving like Parikshit Maharaj. It's a very nice way Prabhupada has put. Right. So next look at Tata Sarvagunodarke Sarpula Grahodaya Jigme Vamshadar Pandar Roya Pandurivojasa.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Thereupon, when all the good signs of zodiac gradually evolved, the hair apparent of Pandu, who would be exactly like him in prowess, took birth.
Yes. So now the episode is over, the Parikshit Maharaj saw, and then all the good signs of zodiac came. He was able to take birth. He took birth. So in this purport, okay, you can read from here. Maharaj Parikshit or even the personal recorded.
Yes, Madan Mohan Babu, please read.
Okay, I think I will only read because time is not there. Maharaj Parikshit or even the personal recorded.
Maharaj Parikshit or even the personality of Godhead appear in certain constellations of good stars, and thus the influence is exerted upon the body, thus born at an auspicious moment. The most auspicious constellation of stars takes place during the appearance of the Lord in this material world, and it is specifically called Jayanti, a word not to be abused for any other purposes. Maharaja Parikshit.
So the whole purport actually what Prabhupada speaks is about the importance of samskaras and the astronomy, right? So when he was taking birth, all the celestial planets, all the grahas, they assembled in such a way that there is an auspicious moment. So that whoever takes birth in that auspicious moment will be graceful like that. Or the influence of that astronomical situation will be there on the child. And actually, Hare Krishna, some students is coming. Someone can mute. So this is a great science actually, astrology, that like when we take birth, the positions of the planets, they have the influence on our own our life actually. And how that gets manipulated, that which soul will take birth at which moment, how the situations of the planets are adjusted, actually that depends on the samskaras. That's what Prabhupada writes in the book, is very important for Garbhadana samskara especially. So when there is Garbhadana samskara, when the husband and wife, they come with a proper mood, attitude, and there will be good children born. And they can take advantage of such astronomical influences. They will take birth in such a wonderful moment that those influences will be there on the child. So, and when there is a samskaras, we can have good seasons, and then the preaching also will become very easy. So that is the point here we can take. Next verse. Tasya pritamana raja viprayet dhamma kripadivi jatakam karaya asha vachayitva chamungalam.
Hare Krishna. Translation. King Yudhishthira, who was very satisfied with the birth of Maharaja Parikshit, had the purificatory process of birth Parikshit performed learned Brahmanas headed by Dhaumya and Krupa recited auspicious hymns. Hare Krishna.
So he took birth, then Yudhishthira Maharaj, what he did, he thought of performing a Jatakarma ceremony. Right? Jatakam Karayam Asha. He decided that he wanted to perform a Jatakarma. And then the Jatakarma ceremony performed generally. Prabhupada also write in the purport that when the umbilical cord is cut, so there is a connection, right? The child and the mother, the umbilical cord, and the cord is cut, then the Jatakarma ceremony is performed. And especially great sages were invited for that. And their blessings are seek, like Dhaumya and Kopadipahi, here it is said. Yeah. And many great Brahmanas were called, and they do Swasti Vacham, Vacham, Vedic hymns. They were recited in that incident. And in the next verse of it comes that charity is given at the moment. So here the important point in this verse is that Viprayet Dhaumya Kripadipahi. So who Yudhishthira Maharaj invited the Krupa. Who is this Krupa? Acharya? Krupacharya. Krupacharya, actually, if you see in the Kurukshetra war, he was fighting against Pandavas. Right? In fact, he was one of the 6 generals who was there when Abhimanyu entered. Right? Inside that Chakravyuha, he was also one key person for the Abhimanyu getting killed. If you see, who is Abhimanyu? The father of Parikshit Maharaj, right? But Yudhishthira Maharaj invited Krupacharya for the event to bless the child Parikshit Maharaj, who was actually playing a role in killing his father. So such a wonderful thing here we can see that don't judge a person by his actions or actions. This is the point which I wanted to tell is that Krupacharya may be fighting against Pandavas and he may be involved in such an event of killing Abhimanyu. But actually there are some such trying situations, we say, some circumstances, some unavoidable situations. Somebody may be acting in a way which appears, which is adharmic, and which is against the principles of devotion or a moral or etiquette, whatever it may be. But if you judge them on that base, sometimes it may be wrong also. Like here, Vishnu Maharaj was not judging Krupacharya. He knows Krupacharya is a proper Brahmana. Somehow, because in those days, whoever actually invites to fight, the parties very faithfully fought against that side. So, but there is no personal enmity, even though the parties are fighting on the opposite sides. Like Vishnu also, you can see. He was fighting against the Pandavas, but Krishna in the heart, he was a devotee of the Lord, and he was the leader of the Pandavas. Then sometimes there may be some situations where a devotee also, he may work in such MNC's companies which are very sinful, right? He may work in he may be earning a lot of money, but if you see them from the external point of view, you may judge them why this devotee is working for such companies. In fact, even Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, right? They were working for Nawabs, Muslim kings, leaders. They themselves condemned themselves. But why they were working? Because if they don't work, they told that we will kill Vaishnavas. That's why they were working. So therefore, we don't know the situation why somebody is acting in the way. So therefore, don't judge people by their actions or externals. Judge people by their intentions. But oneself, we should not say that I will judge myself based on my intentions. No, we should judge ourselves by our actions. Our acting. Is it making someone else feel bad? Don't worry about your intentions. So for oneself, one should worry about actions. For others, one should worry about their intentions. So here, that principle we can learn that how Yudhishthira Maharaj is inviting Upacharya to bless Parikshit Maharaj. I think I will stop here. It's already 3 minutes over time. So we have finished 13 verses. We'll continue next Saturday, 14th verse. So I request all the devotees please go to the purpose again. And if you have any doubts, I did not take any question also. Maybe in our next class we can take. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Okay.